Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. I want to follow up on our story about Bre Payton from the other day. This comes to us from Collective Evolution. Journalist who broke story of Mueller deleting text messages dies mysteriously. Not only was Bre reporting accurately on Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation and Hillary's behavior in the past, she also apparently broke the story about the deleted text messages. So it gets even deeper. Bre Payton was a writer for the conservative online news magazine The Federalist and a guest commentator on the Fox News channel. And she was a rising star. From the moment we started talking, I realized she was a potential star, Ben Domenech, the publisher of The Federalist, said in an essay on Saturday. She was raw, yes, but that could be honed. She was eager to learn, to write, and to go places, not because of ambition, but because she wanted to change the world. She seemed unafraid to take on things that mattered, including breaking the hard-hitting piece, DOJ destroyed missing stroke page text messages before the IG could review them on December 13th, where, unlike the mainstream media, who later focused on the idea that there was no evidence that these text messages were deliberately destroyed, Payton leaned toward the conclusion that there was criminal intent in these deletions, a notion supported by Donald Trump. And then she died suddenly on Friday in San Diego. She was 26. I don't have any definitive proof for the notion that Payton was killed because she was going to disclose some type of sensitive information against the deep state. However, it must be said that the cause and circumstances of her death are befuddling enough for one to consider such an idea. My only intention is to explain the facts and allow you to draw your own conclusions. Wednesday, December 26th. Bre Payton, who lives in Washington, was in San Diego to be a guest host on a show on the One American News Network. Her last tweet was announcing to followers that they could see the show broadcast right now and responding to one follower who was already watching it. So as of Wednesday night, all was well with Bre Payton. Here is Bre's tweet calling out Liz Wheeler and letting Michael Andrews know that she appreciated his watching it. Thursday, December 27th. Bre was staying with good friend Morgan Murtaugh while in San Diego. Morgan found Payton unconscious in her bed around 8:30 a.m. and disclosed in this tweet. 24 hours ago, I found my friend unconscious and called 911. She's been in a coma since and really needs a miracle right now. Please, if you're religious at all, send prayers this way. We really need them. Friday, December 28th. By Friday morning, Bre had passed away. This webpage for Bre on the Caring Bridge website, which appears to be a site that gives updated information on people who are in hospital, seems to be where Bre's death was first announced. This was the page that Murtaugh had referred to in her tweet above, although at the time she tweeted it, it had obviously not declared that Bre had passed away. There is no way of checking what it had said at the time because, unlike Twitter, this website only shows the latest update. Currently, it reads as follows. Around 8:30 a.m. on December 27th, Bre's friend went into her room and found her unresponsive and barely breathing. She immediately called 911, and Bre was taken to the hospital where she was admitted to the ICU, sedated and intubated, and doctors began working up a diagnosis. After a CT scan and hours of testing, they determined she has the H1N1 flu and meningitis. George stayed at the hospital with her in San Diego for a long time, but her condition worsened and worsened. She fought her illness with strength, but passed on December 28, 2018. She will be survived by her 4 siblings and parents. She fought strong and lived a life worth noting in the books. We are so incredibly honored to have known this wonderful human being. Something just doesn't seem right. Trying to put the pieces together here, Morgan Murtaugh never mentioned noticing anything wrong with Bre on Wednesday night. So we are left to assume that a healthy, vibrant, 26-year-old girl became fully incapacitated during a night's sleep without showing any prior symptoms, and then was dead 24 hours later, with doctors saying she had the swine flu and meningitis. Surprisingly, a New York Times obituary for Bre Payton said that Miss Payton had the H1N1 flu, also known as the swine flu, and encephalitis, according to her family. So is it encephalitis or meningitis? And what is the actual cause of her death? One of these ailments or the H1N1 flu? I have not found an answer to this. While the cause of death does not seem to have been determined, several mainstream media outlets are taking the opportunity to use this to subtly warn people that they should remember to take their flu vaccine, which includes an H1N1 component. The way mainstream media writes about this story is to ask how she died, mention and go into depth about the diagnosis and the history of the H1N1 virus, talk a little about her life, and then leave the initial question unanswered. They sway the typical mainstream reader to believe she died of the H1N1 virus without really saying it. Some hypothesize that Bre Payton might have actually taken the flu shot, and that led to her illness. But this tweet from her from a few years back makes it highly unlikely that she would consent to any vaccine. Bre stated here at LA Times, whooping cough, state urges more people to get vaccinated. No, vaccines are from the devil. Smart girl. I don't know enough to say it's impossible that Bre Payton died so suddenly from a virus she had contracted naturally without any prior symptoms, but it just doesn't feel right. You would expect that she would have some pretty significant symptoms in the days prior. Add that to the fact that we have covered many stories of people who have died mysterious deaths, who all happen to be courageous, outspoken people who were willing to challenge the establishment, and might have had some information that was damaging to the deep state and were willing to reveal it. As she showed in breaking the Mueller story, you can begin to understand the suspicions. The takeaway. There is certainly a pattern of untimely and mysterious deaths that have been on the rise in recent times, which involve people who are seen as a threat to the deep state. Several of these suspicious deaths have been made to look like suicides, but other forms of sudden natural deaths have been occurring as well, with some victims even being able to hint that they had been poisoned or otherwise targeted just before their deaths. The case of Bre Payton is uncertain and unproven, but all the signs certainly raise the suspicion of those who follow these patterns of events. The best we can do here is put together the facts that we have access to and allow you to consider and decide the most likely explanation for yourselves. Well, I would have to say that this adds another layer of intrigue to the story. And the writer of the story is correct. People who have the courage and wherewithal to speak out against the power machine certainly have a nasty habit of ending up dead. I hope for Bre's sake that she is in peace and that her death was relatively painless. I am so saddened that we lost this very courageous voice for the truth movement, and I can only hope that it emboldens others to come forward and to continue to do this work. All right, now in a lighter story from the Gateway Pundit, exclusive photos of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or as somebody called her in the comment section, Alexandria Occasional Cortex, or Sandy, as she was known at her elite high school in Yorktown, not in the Bronx. Congresswoman-elect Democrat Socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez grew up and attended school in affluent Westchester, New York, but likes to pretend like she grew up in the Bronx. This past weekend, Ocasio-Cortez tweeted out a photo of her congressional office on Capitol Hill. She made the mistake of adding that she's just your average girl from the Bronx. And here she is, channeling J-Lo. Don't be fooled by the plaques that we got. I'm still Alex from the Bronx. Alex is not from the Bronx and was quickly put in her place. We remember these epic tweets from Michael Knowles. The average household wealth of the town in which you grew up is $1.2 million. This week, an anonymous classmate reached out to the Gateway Pundit and sent us several photos of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from high school. The classmate went to and graduated from Yorktown High School in Westchester County, New York. Ocasio-Cortez graduated in 2007 with honors. Yorktown Heights is a middle to upper middle class community located in northern Westchester County. And look at that. It's a beautiful campus. I'm sure that Alexandria had an excellent education. Oh, and the education we received at Yorktown was excellent. We had many well-funded after-school programs, very good cafeteria food, access to Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, B-O-C-E-S, for trade school. Lacrosse was our biggest sport. We were terrible at football, decent at soccer. Oh, and there she is. AOC. The average home in Yorktown goes for $477,000. It's a very nice area. There was very large theater, dance, and a band department. You were considered poor if your parents made $50,000 a year each. Everyone drove a car when they got their license, including Sandy. And look, they even had enough money for braces. That stuff's not cheap either. God, you guys ever notice how wide set her eyes are? She's got a very strange looking face right there. Has she had a nose job? Maybe that's just a very odd looking picture. Some students received a BMW, Range Rover, or a similar brand when they turned 16. And Alexandria went by Sandy at her affluent high school. I don't know about you guys, but I had a 1985 Chevy cargo van with a couch in the back, a mattress behind the couch, and and carpet all around the inside. It was like, it was my local hangout. All right. There she is, Sandy Ocasio. She wasn't even going for the hyphenated last name. And there she is, once again. The classmate told the Gateway Pundit he or she does not like Sandy's politics and does not want to live under communist socialist rule. He also says Bernie Sanders is passing on the socialist torch to Sandy. There is the yearbook itself, Under the Husk. Corn. Corny. There she is again. She was in the Key Club. I don't know what a Key Club is. They didn't have that at my high school. Well, once again, just more evidence that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not exactly who she says she is. So she wants to take your money and your money and your money. What about Alexandria's money? When she was running her own business in the Bronx, I know that I heard her complaining about taxation. Wow, under socialist communist rule, we would be giving the majority of our income to taxation. Spreading that wealth around. It's not a good idea, folks. What do you think about this? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, not just a girl from the Bronx. And lastly, in today's report, I wanted to end on a really, really high note. I wanted to call attention to a post that I saw here on 8chan. This right here is a heat map, and it details the density of sealed indictments. As you can see, we've got an incredible amount here in Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia. D.C. is right there. We've got New Jersey, Massachusetts, lots of them in Massachusetts, lots in the southern portion of New York, Colorado, New Mexico, so many in Texas. What does that mean? What are all those red spots mean? Well, the sealed indictment count is now up to 70,887. That is through December 30th. Unprecedented. So many. And you can see here, I will leave a link to this because I know you guys are going to want to see this. And here's a list of everyone who put together the research to make this possible. But you can break it down by state. Then they've got it listed by period. How many get added new. The totals from each portion of the breakdown. And that is just incredible to think that there are that many sealed indictments for cabal people, if you want to call them that. And then here is this Cute little meme. If conservatives trust God, why do they need so many guns? Because they don't trust Democrats. Thank you, Baker. Thank you indeed for putting this together for us in a handy-dandy little meme. All right, guys. Well, that's all for this report. I want to thank you very much for tuning in to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector. Everyone have a wonderful day, and God bless.